Your grade for the Cowboys.
Well, I feel for Micah.
Bum me out.
There was the good, there was the bad, and of course there was the ugly last night in Jerry World. And since I'm going to be fair, let's start with the good.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Rico Dowdle.
Thank you. I have a whole segment dedicated to him.
I mean, honestly, Rico's looking like, you know what?
A little bit.
We might get a run game next year.
Yeah.
131 yards, career high. Second straight game over 100 yards after his first 46 of his career. Obviously, he didn't play a lot of those, but had never gone for 100 yards. Now he's done the last 2 weeks.
For the season, 4.8 per carry.
Yeah.
And coming on strong as of late. Might just run down Tony Pollard at the end of year numbers. We'll see. It's on the board.
All right. Also, the defense.
Yes.
Defense entered this game giving up 34.5 points a game at home, held a great offense to 27 points. 27, wow, that's not that much. But that's less than Pittsburgh, the Chargers, those are two really good defenses, and Baltimore twice, which isn't a great defense, but still held them to fewer points than those teams did.
And held them to 20 if the muffed punt is not muffed and they just ended on a field goal.
Absolutely. Now the bad. All right. Despite getting two touchdowns from Greg Jennings' favorite quarterback, other than Daniel Jones, Cooper Rush. It is. He loves Cooper Rush. They only scored 20 points. All right, against a hapless Bengals defense. Yeah. They're only the fourth team this year not to score 20 or more against the Bengals. And the other three, the murderer's row of the Patriots, the Giants and the Browns, just like the Cowboys, they're missing the playoffs.
For the record, we won that game. So
you did win. At least you won that game. And now the ugly. Dusty the tape.
Oh, the tape.
Slow motion if you can. Nice started well. Block punt. And then here it is. Amani Aruware, I hope I said it right. And he tried that. He was like, uh-oh. And
he had just got called up from the practice squad.
I know, but it happened, all right? And that essentially cost them a game. 2 minutes left. They're about to be in field goal position. They got a great field goal kicker. They probably win this game and keep their fledgling, playoff hopes alive.
Honestly, before you give your grade,
yes.
If that was you, would you have had the wherewithal to not touch it?
I'm going to be honest, because I'm an honest professor.
Exactly.
I'm a professor of integrity, and I take you back 2 weeks to Wanye Thomas. I think we do it, yes, here. When he caught the ball and ran back the onside kick, I must admit, I said, good for you, Wanye. I applauded him.
You said, get your glory.
Yes, right. And I got to take some of the blame for this because there's no doubt Amani was thinking this play on that.
Yes.
Glory! Mama, your boy's about to be a star. That's what was going through his mind. He was like, here it goes. Yeah. And it backfired. So I do take a little bit of the blame for that. And so I think I'm being fair. I think I'm being kind. I'm giving them a C, and it's not for comical. Yeah, but I'm giving them a C.
Also, that is the rule. I would suggest a slight revision to that rule. The punting team, I get it that if it's blocked and then touched past the line of scrimmage, it's then like a muffed punt. I understand all of that. It should have to go past what you needed for a first down for it to result in a first down by the punting team. Like
I buy that, but that
one was 12 yards shy of what they needed for the first down.
You need to get
it was just a really weird thing.
He may have been confused.
Yeah, it's just a weird spot because on a blocked kick, stay away from it.
Right.
I think that he's thinking I can scoop and score.
Yeah.
And then because you see the yellow line.
Yeah,
it's like even if it was, it's a weird thing. That is a mistake, and I'm not saying it.
Here's the one question: what if it's just a bad kick?
No, it has to be on a block. It has to be on. It has to. To me, it has to be on a block because there's a lot of weird stuff that happens on blocks that I just think you should. Logic should try not to penalize the team that made a great play. And the Cowboys made a great play, but that, again, set that aside. And by the way, even with that, they maybe lose. Like, it's just Cooper Rush with the ball in a tie game. It's no guarantee they're going to.
And I mean, the Bengals they probably get it with some time on the clock.
Right. So there's no sure thing. So I think Brew deciphered the game quite well. I want to say something about Micah, and then I want to say something about why I think the loss was good for Dallas, if I may. Micah's a great player that might actually be underrated. Like, the difference, I know the first couple games of the year, the Cowboys defense was not good. I understand that. But then we saw them for a stretch without him. And it was like, oh, that might be the worst defense in football. And since he's gotten back, that defense has been legit. Yesterday, I said on the show, and it seemed like you were flirting with it, that the Cowboys defense might be enough to at least keep them in the game, if not win the game. Thank God that would have been a devastating loss in Nick's picks if that was a Friday pick, because they were covering the whole game and then end up losing. And I love how much that meant to Micah. I didn't mind that he left the field, didn't leave early, but as soon as the game was over, he left. He was crying on the sideline. Now, part of that is overshown. Seems like he suffered as devastating of a knee injury as one can suffer. They're talking about him missing all of next year, which is devastating.
He looked like a future star.
But I really appreciated his post-game press conference. I watched the whole thing because it did seem like it meant so much to him. And their path moving forward has to be through him and through the defense.
Okay, so let's talk about this. First off, I understand that this was a standalone game and all of that, but it's always tough because we know that this game just really fundamentally just doesn't matter. The Dallas Cowboys had no chance at making the playoffs. It just wasn't going to happen. Okay, what was it, like 2% chance or something like that? So it's like, what grade are we giving Dallas? They're injured. They have a backup quarterback. Like, what's the point of any grade at this point? Like, seriously, it doesn't actually really matter. And this is me actually defending the Dallas Cowboys here. Like, I'm not throwing shade at them. Like, I'm defending them. It's like, what are we expecting the Dallas Cowboys to be able to do at this point? And in terms of the whole blocked punt and all that, I agree with Nick in terms of, like, kind of the rule change and all of that. Because it is one of those weird situations where that can happen, where it actually, like, a great play actually penalizes the team that actually did a great play. So I'm really actually all for that. But it is kind of comical fashion that's kind of how this all unfolded and how they lost. It is one of those things too that the coaching staff needs to a degree do a better job. Special teams a little bit differently because you have a lot of players in different positions. No one's like trying to be like full special teams and like that's all they do. So in terms of like coaching and educating them is going to be a little bit different than in terms of like what the rules are and how you approach it if you are like a true offensive lineman or a true safety or something like that. It's definitely going to be different. But that is one of those things that like well-run franchises and good coaches like remind you in any given moment, hey, just remember this is it. This is the story here. This is what needs to be done. And remember, hey, we're going for a block punt. We're going all in. Remember, if we block it, don't, and again, you tell them exactly what you need them to do so it's fresh in their mind so they're not relying on like a moment that happened maybe in like college or high school or whatever it may be. But again, I don't 100% fault someone in that position coming from the practice squad and all of that. Yeah, in terms of what Nick is saying of where the Dallas Cowboys have to move from here and where they go from here, and it has to be through Micah. First off, no one's saying that Micah is underrated is the comically absurd statement. He's not underrated. Everyone thinks he's amazing. The problem that brings him down is his personality and the Dallas Cowboys franchise as a whole. But first off, Nick, you want to say he's underrated. Nick is the one who weeks ago, early on in the season, before Dak got injured, was showing highlights of Micah, where he thought Micah was making mistakes and was literally calling him out. And then Greg Jennings had to come out and correct him. And I had some great people, who were watching and also kind of called it out, especially like Travis O'Shea, JCT Slice and company. And they were like, whoa. What Nick is saying is wrong. He wasn't, misplaying he wasn't having poor play there. Like he was doing his job. He was doing what needed to be done. I forget the exact context of it, but Nick is the one that literally was showing highlight after highlight, trying to like point out and be like, Mike is not looking so good in this regard. So he's not underrated. He also hasn't shown up in the playoffs that people have mad concerns about. And we know Nick lives and dies by what you do in big games and in the playoffs. So there you go. So I wouldn't say that he's underrated by any stretch of the imagination. I think he's properly rated. He is great. He is top defensive player in the NFL. He has his behavioral issues, has plenty of bad sound bites and all of that. People can have issues about his podcast and what he specifically says on it. What he's done in the playoffs is worth criticism to a degree. I'm only going to blame someone at that position so much, quite frankly. You can only do so much. As well as just the overall culture of the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know if you can say that you're going to move forward defensively and it has to all go through them. I think it's an understandable approach if you can become one of those defensive-led teams and you ask Dak Prescott, right? Like you could see them saying, hey, we're going to be a defensive forward team and we're going to really beef up this O-line and we're going to get a great run game and we're going to ask Dak to throw the ball like 22 times a game. And like, that's what it's going to be. Our defense is going to attack. We're going to hold teams to 20 points or less. We're going to really ground and pound the ball. It's going to be, we're going to average 130, 140 plus yards a game rushing alone. Dak is going to do a lot of these nice, quick, short 5-yard pass, 6-yard pass, 5-yard pass, 6-yard pass, working the tight ends, taking shots down the field to CeeDee Lamb. Like, it all sounds great in theory, and it can definitely lead to victories. Absolutely. But you kind of messed that up when you paid Dak the amount of money that you did. You haven't paid Micah yet. You haven't taken the running back position very seriously. And it's like, again, and where are you going to go with Mike McCarthy? Like, are you going to move on from Mike McCarthy? Are you going to hire a new offensive head coach? And who is that offensive head coach? Is it going to be Ben Johnson? Is that the way how Ben Johnson's going to want to run his offense? Like, is he going to want a defensive forward team? Because again, if you hire now a great offensive coach who wants to make moves, if you have the ability to do that, are you going to be able to have a defensive center team? And then again, if you want to have a defensive forward team, then you're going to want to hire a defensive head coach. And who's that now going to be? Is it going to be Mike Vrabel? Is it going to be Flores? And then you're now going to be dependent on your offensive coordinator. Like, it definitely adds more question marks. I definitely totally agree with what Nick is saying in terms of what they should probably do. But the reality is I'm not so sure how that looks from an execution standpoint, especially when you're in this weird position. Like, some of those teams that are able to do that, it works really well when you have a true established defensive head coach or a great, brilliant offensive head coach who understands this is what the team is right now. Like Andy Reid and Spags with the Chiefs, understanding, hey, we're not going to be this high-powered offense. We're going to be a more defensive forward team. It's going to be different than things looked in the years past. But that's when you have a brilliant head coach and a great obviously a brilliant quarterback in Patrick Mahomes, understanding what needs to be done. Everyone can buy into that. I'm not convinced that the Dallas Cowboys have the culture with CeeDee Lamb. Like, CeeDee Lamb's going to buy into that. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that Dak's going to want that. And then again, and which head coach are you getting that's going to do that? And if you get a defensive head coach again, like Brian Flores, who's the OC for the Dallas Cowboys, like it sounds good and it can be good, but it still comes with a lot of big question marks, quite frankly. It really, really does. So I'm just not so sure. And when you have if you just pay Dak Prescott like he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and if he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL and you give him all that money, you're going to want to support him as well. So if you really kind of go all in defensively, like I don't know, it's going to be interesting to see what they do moving forward. I don't think there really is an easy path necessarily. And this is why, and Cowboys fans won't like this, but this is why the Eagles did such a great job, because they went out and got Kellen Moore and Fangio, right? So now they really fixed their defense. They drafted defensive players and went out in free agency, got them. They went out and got Saquon Barkley, right? And so like now they upgraded from the coordinating position. They upgraded offensively and defensively. So they were able to fix both sides of the ball. So it wasn't this defensive-led team, offensive-led team. It's no, our offense is going to be really potent and do great things, and our defense is going to attack and get after the quarterback. So they were able to do both things simultaneously. So, but they were able to hire the people, specifically the coordinators that were able to execute that. I'm just not so sure where that lands from from what that means for the Dallas Cowboys. And again, if they move on from Mike McCarthy or not, and kind of the direction that they'll be able to go in. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Dallas Cowboys? What do you think about that loss? What do you think that they should be doing moving forward? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.